Hey everyone, this is Ryan Steva from homesteadconsultant.com. Today I am doing a full off-grid solar installation system for a small cabin, and I'm going to go over all the different parts and pieces that I'm using, why I'm using them, and try to show you how I installed the system. So the first and kind of base part of this system is the EG4 3000 EHV-48 solar inverter charge controller. That's that yellowish orange box you see up to the top right there. There is a really specific reason I chose that over other systems that are available. One is it is a great price. Two is that it is fully off-grid capable. Three, it can actually be expanded, so you can connect multiple together to expand the connection or the power of the system. And four, and this was really important for me for this project, was that it was high voltage capable coming from the solar panels. So I can run the panels at 500 volts, which allows me to run cable easier, or a less large expensive cable from the panels with less loss over the distance because the voltage is higher. So here you can see me installing the cable into the building. This is the solar cable or solar wires, and then putting them in through an LB box. Those LB boxes are great because they allow you to pull things through later. Now I laid out the cable and I actually pushed the conduit up and over that, which was a fairly simple way to do it in this case. This is a disconnect that I'm putting in because I'm using higher voltage. In this case, it's going to be 400 volts coming from the panels. I wanted to make absolutely sure that we were able to shut it off at the panels if there's ever an emergency, or if maintenance needed to be done on any portion of the cable that was not directly connected to the panels. So here you can see me fiddling around on my phone. I needed to make sure the disconnect pinouts were correct, and then you can see me cutting down a couple of more trees to make sure that the wires get to the panels properly. So here I'm pulling in the line from outside for the solar wires, and they're going to be connected to that additional disconnect and breaker system inside. This gives me an additional place to turn off the power coming from the solar panels, and it also gives just another layer of safety for anybody working on the system or needing to shut the system off rapidly from either side. Here you can see me connecting the wires to the inverter charge controller. They are still not live. Now I'm tying between the inverter charge controller and our panel with 10 gauge Romex wire, which allows for a 30 amp breaker. Now you can see me tying it to the inverter charge controller there. Now I'm taking readings off the batteries to make sure that they are not live so that I can connect all the various connectors between the batteries and the system. And here I am installing a ground rod. Here are the two lines. This leg right here is the line from the solar, and that's the input to the system. And this line is the line from the generator, so that's the backup input to the system. And then right here we have our ground wire. So the ground wire is going to an 8-foot ground rod. And then our conduit here is going to get buried. So we're going to get a trencher out here and bury that conduit out to the solar panels that are on about 150 feet away on the other side of a woods over here. The way that I've set this up, and I haven't 100% finished the wiring out here, but I just wanted to show it, is that this is already on a 4x4, and the 4x4, when we trench the line in and drop this in, that 4x4 can be concreted, and then these connections here, or the conduit here, will then just sit underground. So we'll have this all underground to about right there. This is, like I said, this wiring needs a little bit of touch up here, but the idea here is we've got our line coming from our solar panels. That's 400 volt line coming from the panels, or it's running at 400 volts, and because of that high voltage, I really wanted to make sure that we could turn off the system out here, so we can turn that off. This switch has a lockout tag out on it, so we can actually lock it out to being turned off consistently. And that way, if work needs to be done on the line from this point in, we don't have to, we can turn it off and not worry about it from that side. Obviously, we need to still test it, but it's just an added safety mechanism. So because of the high voltage, I wanted to make sure that we had a added safety mechanism to be able to turn the panels off out at the panels rather than at the building. So here's the internal system. I've got a few things to clean up still. There's a little bit of a mess. This is our breaker panel, or our main electrical panel. It would be a sub panel in a lot of home installations, but in this case we're using it as a primary panel. You can see that 30 amp double pole breaker on there. That is what we're using for an input, because we may end up adding a second EG4 3000 into this system to get split phase electrical, which would be 240 volts, and in which case we would connect to that second breaker. And then you can see the top breaker, because we're only connected to one of the double pole, we can only connect to every other connection within this panel unless we get a second EG4 3000, and that will allow us, if we did that, then we could connect to every single breaker junction or every bus bar back here as well. And then right now we've only got one connection out of it, so you see that 20 amp single pole breaker that runs down to here. We'll be putting in another receptacle there as well, and then we'll be putting in some additional breakers to power the rest of the cabin here. Then we come down here, we've got our solar input with a disconnect there, and here's our EG3000 EHV48, and the connections inside of here. On the far left there, you can see that is your AC input. That's what would come in from the grid. In this case, we're actually running it in from a generator. And then in the middle is your line and neutral for the AC out. And then on the right hand side is our photovoltaic in, or our PV in, coming from the panels. You can see that's coming from that line there. Then right here is the battery input, and all of these are easy to get to. I really like the design on how this is put together. This unit has just come up and worked properly, with one exception, which I'll note elsewhere, but it was an easy fix when I called tech support. Here are the batteries. We've got two of these combined. We are using the RS485 connection up to the inverter there, and then there is a battery communications jumper that's jumper between the two, and then the two batteries are connected together. The batteries then run to this 80 amp breaker, DC breaker, that should protect both batteries and the inverter and give us an ability to just an additional shut off, because there are breakers on these batteries, but I wanted to have an additional single point of failure, or single point to be able to pull that breaker if I wanted to work on things over here. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed that video, please consider helping me out in a couple of different ways. One is that I'm working with Signature Solar to put this video together to give you guys this information. The reason I'm working with them is because I think they're a great US company who's doing really good work, has great technical support, and really good products at a really good price. So I'm working with them. If you look at the link in the description, I will have link to get $50 off any order over $500. And of course, I get a little kickback on it. And you know what? I think I deserve a kickback, because right now it is 1 a.m. and I'm editing this video because I work so hard putting these things together that oftentimes I'm not done until 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, just to get this content out to you and make sure that you're getting information from me and I try to make it the best that I can. The other thing that you can do to help me out is just give me a like and a subscribe. Probably, I think it's almost 98% of the people who watch my videos don't bother subscribing, which is crazy. That's a very low ratio of subscriptions, and people are watching, getting information. I'm not putting out junk content. It's great content. So please subscribe if you're watching this. That would help me out a ton. And if you want a discount on Signature Solar products, go ahead and check out my link in the description. Like I said, they're a great company, and there's no reason I would work with them unless they were an excellent company to work with. Thanks everybody for watching.